Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we are breaking down our picks for the top 5 and one worst level 2 Paladin spells.
Smite. That's
All
actually
right.
the top level 2 paladin spell. Is it actually a spell? It's just divine smite. We could also say that's the best first level paladin spell and third level paladin spell, and fourth and fifth for that matter.
But that's not an option.
No, it's a class feature, not a spell.
All right, let's just get the caveats out of the way. Mine is that Sam ranks his best to worst. I just picked my favorite 5 in no particular order. Although
Mhm.
this one, they're going to be kind of in order because, yeah, this was a rough list.
Yeah. The other caveats for paladin again is divine smite is just always on the table, so that immediately makes a lot of its competition for like the spells that do bonus damage on hit substantially worse because you always would have an option to use a divine smite when you know you would hit and want it. So like it's a lot harder for me to get excited about like a +2 d4 on hit damage or a divine favor that's like a +1 d4 whenever I just have divine smite sitting right there ready to chunk a bunch of damage with no caveats or concerns. That's
Yeah.
a big determining factor of a lot of what paladins are going to be doing.
All right. I guess I'll kick off the list this time.
Do it.
I think my favorite on here is going to be. It should come as. Let's look at my list. It should come as no surprise to a lot of people that read my books. Find Steed.
It's by far the best paladin spell. Because again, kind of like find familiar. It's not really a spell. It's just kind of a thing you do once for a second level spell slot. And now you have a pen. It's
Yeah.
sweet.
This one. All right. Look, you get a horse. You get something to ride around on. It's got good speed. You do all kind of anything you want from a horse. You get from a horse from this spell. But
Yes.
also, I don't know how much we touched on this on the Find Steed video, but there's that last line of text where any spell you cast like on yourself, you can cast on the steed as well. And
Yes.
we've got one commenter on like 70% of our videos. He said, "This works great with Find Steed."
Sure. That is definitely cute text. It's like what buffs you want specifically. I'm always interested to hear. Like a lot of the spells paladins and these are instantaneous, and the ones that you would share often are gonna be like concentration, and I don't
Well, I mean,
love
there's
a
like
lot of
things like
that.
was it Crown of Stars or something where you could both have crowds of stars going out shooting out from your horse's head.
If that is how that works, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's like hilarious, and that's definitely a bard build that I need to see, which is the Crown of Stars Fine Steed build. So you need to get access to Fine Steed on a non-paladin, because ideally you don't want to sink 5 levels into it. So like bard is how you want to do that, probably. That sounds super cute. Love that. Paladins get less buffs that are worth doing like that, though, but there's still some that are entirely fine.
No, but like every time this guy comments, I think about it. It's like maybe that could actually work. There's just so many things that you wouldn't expect to be able to share with your found steed.
Sure. Uh, there's like there's a lot of real big juice to have a fine steed beyond just sharing spells. It
Oh
just
yeah.
being another body with actions is really good, and like you can use the different mechanics for riding and mounted combat to do different things with it, and each of them have different stat blocks. But like if you give your warhorse finite control to let it do whatever it wants, and you move with it, it still like obeys your commands generally from the fine speed spell text. It can just be doing a bonus 2d6 4+4 damage around. That seems really, really good on top of your regular attack rolls. If you can protect it and keep it alive by using things like mounted combatant to redirect attacks to you so that you're not like losing its 19 HP that fast, you can
Mhm.
do some pretty strong stuff. It definitely sets paladins up to be a really great like mounted combatant alongside just like even if you don't want to do the mounted combat stuff, it's such a low cost.
Yeah.
Like it lasts forever. It costs you 10 minutes. So you might as well just have a pony. You might as well just have a mastiff, right? Like why not?
Yeah. All right. What
Great.
do you
I
got?
love this spell.
Yeah.
Best one is definitely Warhorse. Although Elk is also pretty fine. My number two, because Fine Steed is my number one. I never thought I'd put this here, but Warding Bond is my number two.
Oh. All right. Warning Bond made my list, not that high though.
I don't blame you, but I'm also not sure what you put over it. So this is an action for an hour-long duration of like a shared hit point pool, kind of. It doesn't take concentration, and it gives you a bonus AC to both you and the target. Or sorry, just the target.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like, you have a huge pool of AC, so you're not always leveraging your hit points that well. So this is kind of like a way that you stick this on your monk or you stick this on your warlock, and now you're kind of using your paladin HP more that's not getting hit because you have a high AC, and they have a higher AC, so it's like maybe a net positive. Nah,
All right.
it seems cool.
You said all that and didn't look excited about it. I mean, all that is why I like it.
Yeah, I'm not.
This
I
is a
just don't.
way to play a paladin.
How good is that? Is my question. Like, how useful is +1 AC and sharing hit points? Yeah? Is it better than 3d8 damage? Yeah. I don't know.
I think it could be. I mean, if you've got like a guy without a great armor class and you need him to help out in the fight, getting down in the trenches, then yeah.
Yeah, but like you also still only have like 30 HP if you're doing this as a 3rd or 4th level paladin, right? Like you're still not the healthiest thing in the world. You'll still die to a couple of attacks. Like, if you're taking hits and it's taking hits, your HP is gonna go down really quickly. Like I don't really want to like kill myself using this.
Well,
So is this like
well,
a
I don't
mid-tier
either.
feature? Like when exactly do I start casting this?
I don't
It's
know.
probably fine.
Yeah, there will be times.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also like if you're like Oath the Crown or something and your objective is to be the defender archetype, this is home run for you. This is exactly where you want to be. Strategically, it's probably best to put it on other characters that are trying to take damage as opposed to characters that are trying to avoid damage, just because you'll leverage your hit points better that way, and you'll leverage the AC better that way. But beyond that, it's just like a perfectly serviceable little damage sharing effect that's neat. And I don't know if neat necessarily equates to good, but I still put it above the rest of the things that I picked. So
Okay. Did you pick aid?
I did. It's my number 3. We're just going in order.
All right. Well,
Beautiful.
I mean, I had to pick aid because we got so much flack from not including it on I think our ranger second level picks.
I'm surprised because I think Ranger second level picks are a lot better than Paladins.
Um,
Maybe I'm wrong.
yeah. Well, so that's my justification for picking aid.
Oh, sure.
Actually, maybe I shouldn't have picked it so we'd get more comments.
Mm,
But
that
no,
was
I had to because the rest of this list. Oh my God.
exactly. Like Rangers get like Silence and Spike Growth and Summon Beast and spells that I rank above all of the spells we've talked about so far except Find Steed. I think Find Steed might be like right around Summon Beast as far as like how good it is. I think Rangers have a great list. I don't think Aid. I stand by Aid shouldn't make my list for Rangers. Aid is kind of dookie, but it does last a while. And if you've got a bunch of second level spell slots lying around, which Paladins normally don't because you have such an easy spot to put them, like do I want 15 hit points on our creatures, or do I want to deal like 9-ish extra damage to an enemy? I think the answer usually is I want to deal 9-ish extra damage to an enemy, which is it's more than that, right? Because it's 3d8, so it's 4.5 plus 9, which is 13.5 damage. So do I want my team to have 15 HP, or do I want to deal 13.5 damage? And I definitely want to deal 13.5 damage with Divine Smite over using this. But compared to everything else on this list,
yeah,
maybe. Maybe I don't have enough room for all of my smites in a single encounter, so we'll use Mate.
Yeah. The other thing I like about aid, how long does that last?
8 hours. Last
8
a long
hours.
last time.
All right, so 15 hit points, sure, but if you're going through a lot of battles, you're taking some damage, and then healing it up, like it increases your max HP, so you're getting that additional 15 hit points over and over again potentially.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of big question marks with that argument in that it's like, are you going from 1 to full over and over again? The answer is not really. Normally you're going from low to close to full. And like this kind of prevents overhealing, which is nice, right? It gives you a little 5 extra overheal zone.
Right.
And then if you drop in the next encounter, you might have had an extra round from the aid. It's hard to see just how like high impact this can actually have. I expect that it's on things like Cleric that have the ability to spend a 3rd and 2nd level slot on this. It's going to be a lot more valuable because it's buying you a full extra action against bigger weapons. But like, it's just a 2nd level spell for Paladins. Like, I don't want to spend a 3rd level spell on 30 hit points that badly, right? Maybe it's slightly better than the 2nd level version of this, but it's still like you're a half caster, so your list is really tight and your slot's really small. I don't know.
No,
It's my number three, though.
all right. Um, yeah, I think Fine Steed is probably the only one of these I'll ever be casting. But
Yep, me too.
all right,
You got oath spells, so don't worry about
yeah,
these. And we've talked about a lot of the oath spells in the Paladin list as like the defining tenets of Paladin, and I think we're seeing highlighted here today exactly why they're so important.
all
My
right. What
number
else you got?
4, I don't know if it made your list, and it never really deserves to make mine, but I can't not talk about Zone of Truth. I love Zone of Truth.
Yeah, I got that at number 3. This is one of those, it's swapped out with Warding Bond for. I don't care about it, but it is an interesting effect that you can, you might have a use for every now and again.
It's definitely like the information gathering tool for clerics and
Right.
paladins. This is how you sort of do the interrogation as those archetypes. And I like that a lot. I like that it's a kind of narrow, this is a diviner's sort of feature, or it's a bard feature, which is a very different aesthetically look to it. Like a Zone of Truth on a bard is a lot shadier than a Zone of Truth is on a cleric or paladin to me. Like I feel like a paladin would be like, everyone sit down in this Zone of Truth that I am casting, and the bard would be like, I cast the Zone of Truth 4 minutes ago, and they're going to come into it and have no idea it's here. That's a very different approach that I like.
See, I was thinking the paladin once, like, I need this information. You're going to tell me where the little girl is being kept, whatever. Whereas a bard, I'm going to make you tell me your most embarrassing secrets.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And that's such a cute effect to have on a character sheet. Now, is it worth a second level spell slot? It's nice to have things that aren't combat based, and we only talked about one out of combat spell that is also happens to be a good combat spell, which is Fine Steed. So, like, sure, this is a kind of a utility out of combat tool for you. I would again really look to your own spells for things.
All right, you know what? I take back what I said earlier. Zone of Truth might be the only other spell I cast because it has out of combat utility.
Yeah, and you got
every once in a while you might need it. Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, now. So we got our first 4 are essentially the same. The rest of the spells on this list, as far as I'm concerned, could have been contenders for the worst. So I just had to choose one for number 5. I don't think they're going to be the same. All right, I think this is where we're going to split paths.
This is where we're going to diverge.
It doesn't matter. All right.
People like the spell I picked a lot more than I do, for what that's worth. That's a clue to you.
All right. I don't think anybody likes this one. I picked Gentle Repose.
I did not pick Gentle Repose. I have a quote. I stand by it. I don't think Gentle Repose has ever been cast, nor will ever be cast. I don't think it's happened. I don't believe that Critical Role did it. You can show me the footage, and I'll blank out during that space, and I'll regain consciousness 20 minutes later and be like, what happened? I definitely didn't see anyone cast Gentle Repose.
All right. Like I said, I had to build that up first. I don't like this spell.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what else could possibly not be the worst. And no, this could be.
Fun fact about paladins, they're not ritual casters, which means they have to spend a spell slot on this trash.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is like, all right, here's the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody goes down. You don't have anybody in the party with Revivify. You don't want to, so you got to keep this guy on ice for a while until you can get somewhere where Revivify is available, because you don't want to use more expensive.
You're a budget conscious paladin. Yes.
That's it. That's why Gentle Repose made my list.
I just find that circumstance to be so unbelievably unlikely. Just because, like, you have the second level slot banked, you prepared Gentle Repose, and you opted to not use that slot on Divine Smite in the fight that was so lethal someone literally died.
But now that the fight's over, you're glad you did, though.
Sure. Now that you can get to the body within a minute, and then you repose it for however long you need to, and then
10 days. Yeah.
We'll touch on it again shortly. But my number 5 is different. I picked, and I hate that I picked it. I picked Magic Weapon.
Oh, yeah. I know that hurt for you.
Yeah, it is. I don't like this spell. I also think I berate it more than it probably deserves. It's kind of harmless. I think it's a bonus action cast, and it gives a weapon +1 to hit and damage and makes it magical for the overcoming magic resistances. I deeply, deeply despise magic resistance as a mechanic, I find, or not magic resistance as a mechanic. I find it is an arbitrary way to say fighters do less. They just do worse and they only can do one thing anyway, so now they just get to do worse unless you put this magic weapon on them, or they have a magic weapon of their own. And in neither of those circumstances, I'm particularly like, I can't make a decision around that as a fighter to, find a magic weapon. I can't make a decision as a barbarian to function less against things that arbitrarily have resistance against me. But as a solution to them, I can say, hey, wizard, please, oh baby, can you shell out a magic weapon just for me? Mr. Paladin, please, I beg of you. Don't just put magic weapon on your stuff, put it on my stuff too. Oh, you can't get 6 concentration? Bummer. I guess only you get to function in this fight. It is a paladin spell, I will say, is like, okay, this is your agency of being able to overcome resistances is a little bit more meaningful than a wizard getting to do it for you. So, I like it more on paladin than I like it on the other classes that get it. It's still just a +1 to hit and damage, and that's not even remotely riveting whenever you have just 13 damage sitting right there in Divine Smite. So,
what level are we getting this?
5th level.
All right. I didn't pick this one. I thought about it. It was a consideration, but I figure most tables by 5th level, you're getting a +1 weapon.
You have to, right?
I mean, not at your tables.
Not my tables. But I don't run magic resistance, so it's not a problem. Yeah. I don't run the monsters that resist regular ass weapon attacks, so I want my barbarians to feel like they can hit like a barbarian. That's all their characters are allowed to do anyway, so like...
This, I'd feel a lot better about this if it just gave +1 additional to whatever weapon you had. So if you have a +1 weapon, cast magic weapon on it. Yeah. Now it's +2 for a while.
Because this does specify you have to use it on a non-magic weapon.
Yeah.
So like there will be some characters that literally just can't use it. And that's dumb. It's dumb that's the case. It still does technically something at a cheap cost. If you're a paladin like, I want a higher likelihood to hit, this is one of the few ways you can get a higher likelihood to hit on your greatsword, right? Is I get a +1 to the hit roll on top of the damage roll. And maybe that's
if you don't already have a +2 greatsword.
Yeah, and that's a lot of things to consider. And it also is like and you also have to, it's only while you maintain concentration on this. So like if your concentration drops after 4 attacks, it's still probably not better than a 2nd level Divine Smite, but like if it converts 1 hit to a miss, it probably is. So maybe it is. I don't know. I don't see
1 miss to a hit.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah, all right.
I hate it, but it's probably better than the rest of these.
Okay. Am I to understand? Or well, let's go through our best first. All right. What's your list?
Bind Steed, Warding Bond, Aid, Zone of Truth, and Magic Weapon.
All right. Mine was Find Steed, Aid, Zone of Truth, Warding Bond, and Gentle Repose. Ah.
I'm disappointed that we're not talking about locate objects today, unless that's your worst.
It's not. I think my worst might surprise you. Actually, locate object not being your worst kind of surprises me too. But did you already give that up?
I did. My worst is Gentle Repose.
Yeah. Okay. I can't argue with it.
It's bad. It's real bad. It's a spell that you don't ever want to have to prepare because it doesn't really do anything in the 99% of encounters that you're going through. Like, people aren't dying in the vast majority of environments. You literally have a feature that all it does is heal. You have lay on like hands. It's really easy to bank 3 hit points of lay on hands and just be like, boop, you come back at 1. Boop, you come back at 1. Easy. It's really hard for a person to die around a paladin. It's kind of like their whole shtick. So then if they do die around the paladin, you have to say, I thought in my brain, I'm not going to take a usable spell. I'm going to take a bad one and bank the slot for it so that we can take them back to town and put them on ice and find someone with Revivify. That just seems hilariously unlikely to happen to me. You have to, like, if it were a ritual spell, it would still fail because you would then be upgrading to need Raise Dead. And if you need Raise Dead anyway, you just need to bring them back to something within 10 days. So, like, this is only usable whenever you're trying to find Revivify targets. That just seems laughable to me. That seems and you get it at the level clerics get Revivify. So like if you have a cleric in the party, this is just dead, right?
Yeah.
I think it's terrible. It may not be the worst, and I was excited I put it on my list specifically. I'm like, this is really bad, and I like making fun of it, and I hope it lets us talk about more bad spells. And unfortunately, it was on your top 5, so it's one less spell we get to talk about.
What else we got on this list? Well,
locate object.
Locate object. We've got a lesser restoration, situationally useful.
Yeah, that was actually my next runner-up was Lesser Resto. I was like, oh, I should probably talk about Lesser Resto here. That spell's terrible.
Prayer of Healing.
Yeah, 10 minutes is just so long. It does.
Protection from Poison.
Yeah, that was in the niche circumstance it comes up. At least it's good in that environment, right? At least like you can cast it whenever you're like you prepare it before you go into a fight against a green dragon or something, right?
All right, my worst pick was Branding Smite.
Thank you for picking Branding Smite.
Yeah, we it wasn't so long ago we did a video on Branding Smite, and I tried to defend it. I learned some things since then, and I feel betrayed.
What did you learn, Bob? Why isn't Branding Smite good? It lets you see invisible creatures, right? It removes invisibility, right?
No, it does not remove invisibility.
Oh, what does it do?
Lets you see invisible creatures, which does not remove at all any of the effects of being invisible. You still get disadvantage on attacking them. They still have advantage on attacking you. That doesn't make any sense. It pisses me off.
And it does less damage than a regular Divine Smite. You have to prep it. You have to not be concentrating on something else for this to even be considered usable.
Yeah, it could do Meteor Swarm damage, and I just feel so betrayed now.
That's reasonable. I respect that. The spell is terrible. You should never put it on your character sheet.
All right. I feel good to get that off my chest.
I'm glad we had an opportunity to touch back. I feel like this has been a story arc where we had the beginning of with Branding Smite with the little naive energy, like, well, maybe this could be good. And then we had the comment section interlude where Bob read and learned and was deeply disheartened. And now we finally have the catharsis of him being able to get it out into the universe of his true feelings about being betrayed. And we've concluded the arc on Branding Smite and never have to speak of this terrible spell ever again.
Oh, we will.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, these are the most fun to talk about.
Agreed.
All right. That was our picks for level 2 Paladin spells. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Let us know your picks down in the comments and what you thought of our list. Yeah, give us hell. But you know, I included aid. So did Sam.
I'm ashamed that I had to.
All right. Like,
is it better
subscribe.
Than protection from poison? Maybe
we'll
not.
see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.